lose any of the conversation. Yeah. But yeah, if you want to lead and.
Okay. Well, first of all, how did you get into flat Earth?
Okay. Yeah. So it was I think in 2014 that I first heard of flat Earth, and I was just astounded that there were still people that would think the Earth is flat, because I was a massive proponent of the heliocentric model, and I knew a lot about it. I knew how fast the alleged rotation of the Earth, and I knew
it's recorded.
and I knew a lot about the various descriptions of the model, because it's not just the Earth spinning, it's us going around the sun and the sun moving. I didn't quite realize how fast all of the speeds were when you put them all together. But going back to that question, I was a massive proponent of the heliocentric model, and I was quite disgusted when I heard people go, what? And they were challenging this theory. And so at the onset, I think I had a friend on Facebook who mentioned, I probably posted a picture of the Earth, and he said, hey, that's not real. And we got into a massive debate, and so did a lot of other people, got into the thread as well. And we ended up parting ways, like, no, I can't be a friend with him, he's a flat earther. But it kept coming up. It kept, for months and months, it kept coming up. So I thought, I've got to do something about this.
You said 2001?
That was 2014, so about 10 years ago, yeah. Okay. So I thought, I've got to do something about this. I've got to stop this ridiculous movement of people that think the Earth is flat and challenging the current model. So I started diving into it. I dived into, the first thing, I guess, is looking for the curve, because if the Earth is a sphere, it should have provable sphericity to it. We should be able to prove it. And that's where I started. So I started looking at, long distance photos, high altitude photos, and tried to find the curve, if you like. Like, where is it? How far does it go? And us living in Melbourne, we've got one of the largest inland bays on Earth here, Port Phillip Bay, and you can see clearly right across the bay. So I started to question, well, how far is it go? What is the mathematics behind it? And sorry, long-winded answer to that question you asked. When did I first hear about it? But it was my motives when I started were to debunk flat Earth. I didn't like it, but the more I dived into it, was like I saw anomalies in the heliocentric model.
So after you, I guess, got converted to being a flat earther, what did you do? So you have a YouTube channel, and I know you wrote a book. A book,
yeah. So it took me about 7 months to get to the point where I admitted that I was, that I could, even to myself, not to anyone else, to myself, to go, I was wrong. Well, this is what what I've found. And so what did I do? I think I went to my family and I told my family about it, and they thought I was crazy. I mean, I've got 3 kids, adult kids. So they're like, what, Dad? That's like insane. And that's how I kind of started my book as well. Like, what do you mean the Earth is flat? Have you lost your friggin' mind? So from when I found out, I just started, I guess, telling close family, friends, and showing them what I'd seen, just to make sure that I wasn't going friggin' insane, right? And they were seeing what I saw, just questioning like the physics of water. How does water behave, and curvature, and look, it should be easy to prove, because there should be real photos of the Earth from space. There should be, like, in 2024. But if you look at them all, they're clearly, CGI, and NASA admits this CGI. So that's a big problem as well. So from there, I started writing a book, and I'd already started writing a book with the intent to prove the heliocentric model. But it kept there was no, nothing I could put on paper that, that would be imprinted forever, right? Because if you put something on, you better trust what you're putting in there. That's how, if you're writing a book. And so that book became a novel on, a character who started questioning the Earth. It's pretty much my journey, but I put it down as a character, and, telling my friend, and, he calling me crazy, and then, try to, go through that debate. But I started a YouTube channel after that, and, just started talking about it and copying copying flack from everyone else that, thinks you're crazy for doing so,
So, is your goal to, I guess, spread the message and get other
It
people
is. I just
to...
want people. Look, I think it's great to have the discussion, and I find it quite appalling that we can't have a conversation about it. Like, it's not something that affects people at a personal level, because it doesn't affect, like, you're still you're still the same person. You don't have to change your appearance or anything. It's a philosophical question at the end of the day. We should be able to discuss these topics. So yeah, my mission is to tell as many people as possible, but to have them think about it. I don't want to convert anyone. It's not about, it's everyone will reach their own decision after, a conclusion after going through the process of examining all the evidence that's available. Yeah, so, yeah, but my mission is to tell as many people as possible. Definitely, I do that every day. I've got a Twitter account, on Facebook and on YouTube, and I do it in a philosophical manner. I'm not forcing anyone, to think the way I do. Just like, ask yourself, how does water work? How does the physics of water work over and I wrote about this in my book. But if you put water in a glass and wait for it to settle at equilibrium, it's level. And then you take that water and put it in a bucket, it'll be level. Put it in a bathtub, level. Put it in a swimming pool, measures perfectly level based on fluid statics. And if you put that in a lake, it's level. So what happens at the ocean? Where is the curve? Because over an ocean, we should have curvature as well. The water should be convexing. And if the Earth is 71% water, and water is level, it should be a simple logical conclusion that, the Earth is a level horizontal plane. And and that's where I start. It comes like, it's not about just believing it's about physics. It's about, as I said before, examining all the evidence from from the start. Just go, okay, and I had to do that. Drop my ego, drop everything I learned. Okay, if the Earth is a sphere, at the end of it, I will find the evidence for it. Because if the Greeks did it 2,000 years ago, and I'm Greek, I should be able to prove what my ancestors proved and saw. And given now that we've got far better technology, including cameras that can, 125 zoom, and you can see further than what the purported curvature math suggests. Yeah.
So is it possible that they just have the calculations wrong? And
it could be. That's what I think as well.
bigger?
And if that's, and that throws a spanner in the works, because if the Earth is bigger than we've been told, being somewhat 40,000 kilometres at the equator, then it spins once per day, we're told. That means, if you divide 40,000 kilometres by 24 hours, it's approximately 1,600 kilometres per hour at the equator. Now, if that math is... So if the Earth is bigger, then we need to spin faster to complete that revolution. The whole model needs to be re-examined, because then it would take longer to go around the sun, because the Earth, being a ball, I've got one here, a squishy one, this is going around, let's say this is the sun, and we're travelling... So we're spinning at 1,000 miles a day, let's say, or 1,600 kilometres per hour at the equator. But we're also spinning once per day, going around the sun at 66,000 miles per hour, or approximately 100,000 kilometres per hour. And then they say the sun is flying sideways through the universe at 500,000 miles per hour, or 700,000 kilometres per hour, or 800, something like that. The math varies because it depends who's talking. There's not one, definitive answer of how fast the sun's moving, because it I don't know why, there should be. But then they say the universe expands at 1.2 million miles an hour. So we've got four motions occurring, not all orbital, I shouldn't say that. Four motions occurring, yet we don't feel anything. And that is, that's huge. That's a huge problem. If I answered your question correctly, that what if it's wrong? What if they're just wrong about the numbers? Yeah. So it should be testable. All of their numbers should be testable.
So, do you think that the whole, I guess, space program and everything else? Like, do you think that's all
that
fake
took me
too?
a long time to admit. And even though I was had been researching the moon landings for since 1996, and I questioned it back then, like how did they do it? They kept saying they're going to go back. We're going to go back to the moon, and NASA made it like as a kid, I remember every 5 years. Oh yeah, we're going back to the moon. Oh yeah, we're going to do it, and nothing has been done. But I don't know why I didn't connect the dots to go, NASA lied about the moon, therefore they're lying about everything. You can't really do that. I don't think it's very fair to do that. So it took me a long time to sort of go, well, and examining their footage, because I've seen a lot of discrepancies in the ISS footage when they're on the International Space Station, and you see glitches and you see objects sometimes floating, and then another time it'll fall, and they say, oh, we hit a gravity pocket. Like, what is that anyway? Like they're flying around the Earth at 17,000 miles an hour, 25,000 kilometers per hour, and you hit a sudden gravity pocket. What is that? Like a bump in the universe, in space? Or so to answer the question, I'm really, very skeptical on the space agencies, and not only from a, again, a philosophical, questioning whether space is, but from a financial point of view as well, because space is one of the largest industries on Earth. It succumbs Hollywood, it succumbs the gaming industry, it succumbs like so many industries. If you stack them all together, space is... So what are they doing? What have you done? We going to Mars? Oh yeah, we're going to go to Mars and live on Mars when we have this beautiful Earth here with nature and birds singing and, the oceans and we're going to go to Mars. Really? Yeah. We haven't got high-speed rail in Australia. We don't have... America doesn't have that. You know what I mean? Many countries do, but a lot... the most sophisticated countries in the world don't have that, but we're spending money in space, and I find that really, like, even if space was real, that's bad, right? Because you should always fix your home first before you think about building another home.
But the narrative is that, our planet is dying.
Yeah, exactly, and they throw all that as well, when we could be spending that money, the trillions of dollars. I think it is close, because NASA gets $20 billion a year. I think it's more now, actually. When I wrote my book, it was $20 billion. It was $52 million a day back then. It's $65 million a day. So yeah, it must be $25 billion they're getting. And then you look at the European Space Agency and the Chinese Space Agency and the Indian Space Agency and and even Australia's into the space race now. And where's the money going? Like, is it just a rort?
So yeah, what do you think? Where do you think the money's going?
I think it's a rort. I think if they're telling us, we're doing things up there in space, I think they're doing it underground. Probably building, like we know there are tunnel networks around the world. America, is littered with tunnels, right? Because they have Area 51, but that means there's 50 areas before that, and they're all linked by tunnels. And you can actually go on YouTube, it's not my theories, you can go on YouTube and look at the underground tunnels where semi-trailers go underneath there, and they come to a fort where they can go in that. It's massive warehouses. Well, I don't know what they're doing with the money, but something is, I can't tell you with a definitive answer. And this is what I try and separate, even to myself in particular, because I like to approach the topic of where we live and whether it's geocentric or heliocentric from a science point of view. You can't, if I can't prove something, I will tell you. Like I don't know what they're doing, I'll tell you. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but they're certainly not going to space. Yeah.
So how do you think that they can keep such a big conspiracy under wraps?
That's a good question. I was chatting about that with my wife yesterday, and there's so many social experiments even scientists have conducted with insects and mice, and how do they behave if you do that, and monkeys, and they know how we behave and how the insects behave. And we are part. We go with the status quo, right? And it's very hard to speak about a topic like for me to become and go public with it. I've copped death threats. I've copped a whole lot of stuff, and Sorry, can you just clarify the question exactly? It was...
Oh, how do they keep such a
How do they
big
keep such...
conspiracy
Yeah,
under
because
wraps?
that's... You know, part of it is we accept what we see by, again, the status quo as a reality. We don't want to get it. The media is part of it, a major part of it. The Hollywood movies, all of the propaganda that goes behind it. A big part of it is that people are too busy to question things. Who actually goes to test the curve of the Earth? That'd be, you know, even though I think that should be a school experiment that everybody has done. You know, the zoo is great, museums are great, but how about we go outdoors and do real life experiments? So they've kept it a secret because they've kept us busy and we trusted science, I guess, if you like. And, you know, I love science, but there's a point where you're going to go, well, there's pseudoscience as well, because that's a reality that, you know, and people just have accepted that people and generations before them have done the homework and they've, okay, that's real. And, you know, I think that's been a big thing that we haven't checked. We haven't gone out and, okay, well, these experiments they did how did they prove things 500 years ago? We still are going on this ancient science, if you like, you know,
So what about all the scientists and like astrophysicists and I guess physicists as well? Like,
I've had the pleasure of, and I'm not going to name it, but he's like a massive, one of the leading astrophysicists in Australia, like a very popular guy, that I was approached by a team to do a podcast with, and I did a podcast with this guy. It was a 2-hour session, so we had 1 hour, and then he at the end of it said, "Well, what if I, you know, next week when we come back for the part 2, what if I had the proof that would you change?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to go. Mate, you're a pro, you know your thing. I'm a backyard astrophysics. You're a professional." He actually called me a backyard astrophysicist, and he didn't say it in a bad way. He said it's good because a lot of technology or stuff comes from, you know, is birthed from a garage or just someone, doesn't matter who you are. So anyway, we did this 2-hour session. We came back and easily debunked, you know, he asked me questions that just were quite rudimentary because I think he hadn't done his research on both models. And that's the problem, you know, going back. There are 2 models and there's always have been, you know, from the Greeks, always had the notion of that the Earth was geocentric, that the sun and moon went around us. You know, the Hindus, the Chinese, you know, the Mayans, so many people. But if you haven't looked at that, and I don't think he looked at both models, and that was the only problem. But astrophysicists like us, because I've recently had a 2-hour discussion, and that was actually went longer, just bumping into people, and they love the topic because they don't know. You know what? The funny thing is, with these guys, they don't know their own model. So the first thing I ask when I speak to these astrophysicists is, how fast does the Earth spin? And they say, I don't know. And I've got to tell you, you're an astrophysicist, but I'm now educating you on your own model. That's a bit of a problem. And I think a lot of them, they don't want to talk to us mainstream. That's why you won't see these debates. It should be televised. Should be, you know. But anyway, going back to Alex Jones before, there's a big debate coming up with Austin Whitsett, who's going on the Alex Jones show, and they're going to be discussing flat. I think it's next Tuesday, and that's going to be streamed to millions of people. So it's going out. It's getting really big, and the astrophysicists need to answer questions, and I think they should step up. I've said that even 5 years ago. They need to step up to the table and really. If this isn't true, stop it. Show us the real proof. Let's do experiments to prove the motion of the Earth, prove curvature. Should be an experiment, like, you know, an easy way to experiment on how fast the Earth is moving, not just based on relativity, on what you know, it's relative to could be, but is it real? You know, so yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think they've got a big they got tough times ahead, to be honest, because millions and millions of people are waking up to flat Earth. So they better put it to bed. I mean, settle it one way or the other, right? And some of them are becoming flat earthers, and that's the thing.
Really?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, there's even a guy called Professor Robert Sungenis who did a documentary called The Principle, and he had leading scientists on there like Michio Kaku and Lawrence Krauss and big guys whom they were debating for hours on geocentricity.
Really?
Yeah, it's a great documentary. Look it up. It's called The Principle by Robertson Jenis. It's on my channel if you want to find it there. And that when I saw that, because that was like actual scientists, and Michio Kaku said something like, the current model for cosmology is off 1 to the power of 300 or something
I think
like
I saw
that.
this on
That's
Facebook.
crazy. That's, and that's something that shouldn't be coming out of a scientist's mouth. And many scientists and astrophysicists over the years have actually said that it works both ways. You could assume the sun is moving over you at 1,000 miles an hour, or you could assume you're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. But there's been no, at the end of it, even Albert Einstein said there's no experiment that can prove the motion of the Earth. No optical experiment that we can prove. Then what did you prove from? Just math.
So have you gone out and done experiments yourself?
The most I'm able to do based on my budget is go and do natural observations over large distances. And they're, observations aren't really experiments, I'll tell you, even though, so we're told not to trust what we see. But that's as far as I'm able to do it. Yeah, I wanted to launch don't know if I should say, but, I want to launch a high altitude balloon very soon and, see how, get to about 120,000 feet, because people will tell you they could see the curvature of the Earth when they're on an aeroplane, but that's been disproven. Even Neil deGrasse Tyson said that...
you can't see it at that high.
Yeah, won't see curves. So the Red Bull jump, where they did that, Felix Baumgartner, when he jumped off he went up 120,000 feet, he went, and he jumped it from that altitude. And they showed us the curve of the Earth. Neil deGrasse Tyson said you wouldn't see it from that height. So they used the fisheye lens to show us the curvature of the Earth. Why would you do that for? So I want to do real experiments like that. And, I think that's what's going to happen when flat earthers collectively do experiments, and that's where it's going. Because they're doing laser tests, long distance laser tests across lakes that are proving that the lakes are level and flat, and that's what we need to do. Yeah.
So has it been done or not?
These laser tests, yeah, definitely.
Oh no, the balloon. The
balloon. There are many people who have done the balloon.
And
so even students do it. Like even a lot of schools will do as a project for the school students, and they will get balloons up to 120,000 feet before it pops. But you'll see curvature from the ground even when they take off. So they're using a fisheye lens. Some of them you'll see when they don't use the fisheye lens that you'll see convexity and then concavity. And then when the camera levels off, it's flat as anything. And there's hypersonic flight. I think it's called the X-17, which is a military aircraft that the US US Air Force developed. And that's at 317,000 feet, and it's flat. So where's the curve? Very there was things like that made me question everything. Yeah. And I've got this saying, question everything, and if someone tells you not to question it even more, right? I'm one of those guys like, hey, what's in that cupboard? No, don't go in there. Don't look in there. Well, I want to look in there now, right? Yeah, so I think experimentation is key to unlocking this, especially when you take it from the simplistic point of curvature. Because if the Earth is a sphere, it needs to have sphericity. Should be just a given, has to. Yeah.
So have any experts, I guess, addressed these questions? Like why they can't see curvature from that high above?
That's a really good question, because there was a guy, I can't remember, but he wrote 10 questions to Neil deGrasse Tyson, answer these, and you get no replies from them. Just mockery. That's what they do. They've been mocking us for years. Oh, those dumb flat Earth. Oh, you're just dumb. Why are you questioning it? And that's a real big problem. No, they haven't addressed them scientifically. Neil deGrasse Tyson will come back occasionally. He'll come in with some beauties, and he said something like the Eratosthenes experiment, which was conducted by a Greek guy 2,000 years ago where he measured sticks and shadows. Do you know that experiment? Or if you call that an experiment, I don't know why that could be called an experiment, but the things we do can't be, because that was so rudimentary. Taking an object and measuring the shadow, and he deducted or deduced that the Earth is a sphere, or the radius of the Earth within 10%, I think he did. But he made a lot of assumptions, because how far is the sun? No one knew. So how do you triangulate something if you don't know the distance of the objects you're triangulating off? So Neil deGrasse Tyson actually admitted, he said that experiment would work with a local sun or a distant sun. You can't really, so yeah, there are some beauties that are coming out from the scientific community, and yeah, it's going to get better because it's just growing. I think in Brazil there are 30% of the population believe the Earth is flat.
Really?
Yeah. In Russia, it's 10%. So in Australia, I could show you a map on this flat Earth app. It's called.
I got it. Yeah.
Have you got it?
I
And zoom
it.
in to the dots in Melbourne, and and just around here. I was actually just filling out my profile on it before, because not that I'm alone. I sort of try and I don't like map. Everyone go, where's your map of the Earth? I don't have a map. I haven't been in, so people, I get that all the time. If the Earth's flat, where's the map of the Earth? I'm not a cartographer. It would take millions and millions of dollars to work that. But something I want to do, and the basis of my book, I don't want to give it a plug, but I think it's a really important experiment, if you like, that could be done. Is the basis of my book is the character buys he's a millionaire, and he has the capacity, because anyone that does real experiment needs to, got to have money. You can't, like even university, if they've got no money, where are you going to do experiments, right? But he buys a high altitude pseudo satellite, which are those big planes with the solar panels on there that are, charged, and they could fly for months and months, like 100,000 feet. And I'd like to do that sort of stuff. I hope in the future that'll happen. And maybe he goes out and there's more land. We don't know the real motive of why they're hiding this. What if it is true that the Earth is flat, as we flat and motionless, and there's possibly more land out there, because that's what they've said for many. Admiral Richard Byrd, a leading rear admiral in the US Navy, I think he was. He went out and he said there's more land with more resources that could fund, like, fuel America for 200 years. And there have been stories of other civilizations out there, So, I hope one day someone does what I suggested with a high altitude pseudo satellite and flies out and maybe sees the real land or maps the real geography of our Earth. Long-winded answer, sorry.
I forgot my question.
I think you said, what experiment,
right.
what can be done, what can we do to prove it? And it is a good question. And I'm going to, maybe spend more time trying to do different things. But I think long distance observation is something anyone can do. Because on a clear day, I go to the beach here, and I picked up with my P900, Nikon P900 camera, wind farms that are near Ballarat. I could see the Yuyang Mountains, which are well beyond, and I think I picked up the Grampians, which are 300 kilometres away from Melbourne.
Really?
That's huge. And there's been sightings. It's actually called so we've got Melbourne, you've got Tasmania here, you've got King Island, which is 100 kilometres away. And one day there's a golf course there. So I called up the lady there one day, a lady answered, and I said, can you guys see the mainland of Victoria? She said on a really clear day, you can see it. So where's the curve? How far? Yeah,
I think isn't the explanation that they give, like, it's refraction?
Refraction, yeah, but that's a very because when they tested refraction, they tested it in an isotropic environment. So take this fish tank, for example, it's contained, and you can see that turtle. If he's on the corner, it looks like he's refracted that way, and even the fish. And I understand refraction, but that's in an isotropic environment, which is everything is contained within equally, right? Equal pressure, equal a lot of factors. The atmosphere, though, is anisotropic, not isotropic, which means there are variable conditions. There's there's no container on a sphere. Like, where does the atmosphere contain? You need a pressure, you need a container to pressurize atmosphere. Otherwise, it would escape out into space. The common answer is gravity. So refraction is not good enough, no, because there's no... And when they did the formula for refraction, I think I put Snell's law, it's called, which is the form... Yeah, and that was, again, based on an isotropic environment, not experimenting outdoors on what's happening in the real world. So, yeah, I don't accept this refraction as an answer, no. And a lot of people don't, even the scientists, it's not good enough.
So then what do the scientists think of this? Like being able to see too far then? do they think
they use refraction all the time. They call us stupid. We don't know. And when we ask them to go out and test it, they don't want to do it. Like, why won't you come out and see what we see? Yeah, that's a big thing. But the people that do, it doesn't matter. We don't need, because they're going to get crushed by new age, this movement that's occurring. And if they just dismiss it the way they do by refraction and all these, dismissive answers without proof, then, it's not good enough now. I think people are waking up, especially over the last few years. They were, at home, they did their research, and you'd be amazed by the amount of people that get, I woke up to flat Earth during COVID, during the lockdown, because I had time to research, because they weren't working anymore and doing that 9 to 5. Because who wants to come home after you've done 9 to 5, you've gone there all day, come home, you've got to cook, clean, do all the rest. Oh, let me research and talk. No one, but they had the opportunity to do that. And that grew a lot, not only questioning the Earth, they're questioning how many different things now about the government and, we shouldn't go there, but we probably can. But
I think a common attack is that I guess flat earthers and other conspiracy theorists, like, you're just paranoid and you just don't trust the government. And
that's what I thought when I first heard it. I was like, really? Is that what because I was already a conspiracy. Looked into 9/11 and all the, questioned a lot of things before 2014. It's not when the first thing that came up, as a potential conspiracy theory. So this one concerned me though. I don't know why. All the others, like, okay, who believes if there's, who cares if people believe there are lizard people, you know what I mean? Like, which I don't, but, I hate all that sort of stuff because you can't test it, provable. That's what I love natural science, actually, what we can prove, and that's what science is about. It's based on observation and testing that observation and, coming up with a hypothesis and questioning that hypothesis. And that process we should never let that go, because the real method of science is it's solid, and it's not though when it comes to where we live. It's wishy-washy. So sorry, what was the question, just so I can answer it more succinctly? I think you asked sorry, maybe it'll come back to us. That's okay.
No, I think I said that the common attack on conspiracy theorists,
that is it. Sorry, you did indeed. And
just paranoid. And
exactly,
you don't trust
paranoid.
anything.
You don't trust. And,
but you don't agree. You don't think that's
I'm
true
not
at all.
with this one. No, this is the conspiracy theory that you can actually test. Like, can I 9/11? No, can I go and test the soil? Can I go and what can I do about it? Nothing. What can I test? Like, see what I've seen on the internet, on a YouTube thing, like, big deal. But this is real. This is like, you're questioning your senses, how far you can see. Like, are we spinning at 1,000 miles an hour? Am I really in Australia upside down on a ball spinning? That's like huge, because we're not just spinning like this. We're tilted at 23.4 degrees, apparently. So now you're on a roller coaster, you're like this. You're not just spinning, that's huge. And you would feel that. And then there's so much discrepancy, and you could look at the heliocentric, at this thing from a conspiratorial point of view, especially when you trace it back and look at who started the theory of the heliocentricity. They were sun worshippers, and they worshipped the sun, pagans, and they had to put the sun in the center of the earth, and they went around the sun. And it was the sun centered. It had to be, and that's what heliocentric means. So it was all about the sun and worshipping the sun And if you look at who devised these theories, they were all Jesuits and priests. So people go, oh, you know, flat earthers, you guys are all religious. Hang on a sec. The guys that came up with all these theories were religious. Even right to the Big Bang Theory, which was, I think it was like 1902 something by Georges Lemaitre, who was a Jesuit Catholic priest. And he came up with a theory. He flipped heliocentricity or geocentricity on its head. I mean, the Catholic Church did. If I go back to there, like, you know, I'll probably get attacked by people online if they hear this. But it was them that took the notion that, you know, we are the center of the universe and everything revolves around us, and they flipped it on its head and then started, you know, going real pseudoscience, I'll call it, because they had no proof. Who could prove these things? And even if you go back to Aristotle, who said that he could see the boats disappearing over the horizon with his own eyes, and the mast was the last thing to disappear, and that only could work. How did he see that? Because I need to have a camera with a really cool zoom to see. So did he see that with his naked eye? I don't believe that. So yeah.
Isn't that the, I guess, the experiment with the P what is it? P something?
P900 camera.
P900
yeah,
cameras,
yeah.
that it doesn't actually disappear. It's still there, but you just can't see it.
You can't resolve it with your eye,
yeah,
because, you know, and even the higher you go, you then see it because it's so obvious that even when we're at, you know, go and watch a basketball game or the footy, that if you're at, you know, near the ground and you're watching it, you're not going to see that. But the higher you go, the more you'll see. And they didn't understand angular resolution of our eyes. That's how it works on a flat plane as well. So if you go really low and, you know, there's a point where your eye can't resolve it because it can't get through this earth part. And yeah, the P900 definitely will resolve it, and you can see well beyond the boat.
Okay.
So it didn't go over the horizon. The horizon is not a tangible physical body. It's an optical illusion of where your eyes, where we see in a perspective view. So even in any room, you'll see that, or if you look down a hallway, you'll see that we have a conical vision, or a railway track, if you stand in the middle, you'll see they intersect. But we know those railway tracks are parallel to one another, otherwise the wheels wouldn't operate on it. So our eyes are a very big part of this as well. And, you know, I doubt whether, and even if you go and look at Greek classical art, they didn't understand back then perspective. And you see even the way they drew faces. They put the eye here and until you ever seen those drawings I have where they try and do the side view of an eye, of a face, and it just was wrong. But then we learned how to draw using 3D point of view, 3D point of perspective, I think they call it. And yeah, I think we've got to, that's where the deception lies, actually, if I could pinpoint it, because we don't understand how our eyes work. So we confuse what we see, we confuse perspective for curvature. And that's a big problem. Yeah, and that's where you know, the deception started, if I can go from a conspiracy point of view. Because maybe they don't want you to know where you live. Maybe it's better for them to be on a ball, that you live on a ball. You're trapped. All the land has been explored. There's nowhere to go. Yeah? And if there is somewhere to go, we got some planets that we're going to go there one day, you know. So yeah, I'll openly say it's a massive conspiracy theory. But it's conspiracy fact that the earth is flat. Yeah.
But if someone could show you like the curvature, you would then believe that.
I'd need a little bit more than curvature now, because I think, you know, I'd need proof of the Earth's motion, which should be an experiment that we could even, you know, we've got technology these days that, you know, from a medical point of view, from our phones, like we can't build something to detect whether the moon is passing us or whether we're spinning, you know, at the same time. So we should, and there's been many attempts on this over the years. Even, have you heard of the Michelson-Morley experiment? Which was like 1890s, and there was Michelson-Gale, and there was Sagnac experiment. there was Aries failure. So there's all these scientists back then trying to work out, is the Earth spinning, or are the stars and the moon and the sun moving, the luminaries moving around us? And they detected nil motion. There was no experiment. They were trying to prove the ether back then. Did the ether exist? And Michelson, all these experiments proved no motion, and it was the stars and the ether that were moving above. Then comes along Albert Einstein, and he was the one that came up with his theories of relativity. I think it was general relativity. So was it special relativity, then general relativity? And until then, there's been no major experiments. So yeah, let's prove it. And if it was proven definitively, yes, I would. Yeah, 100%. And I'd write a new book, I definitely would, yeah, 100%. And I'd document exactly how it should be proven, how it's provable. That way, future generations don't have to waste their time on this topic. It should be put to bed once and for all. Yeah, so I would, definitely. But both ways. So if I'm going to admit that, then the scientific community should go, hey, maybe we were wrong. Maybe we didn't look at all the facts, especially when they can't definitively give me the facts when I'm just a novice. I'm just someone questioning things. I've done many, many years. People sort of but after thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of research on this topic, and I know both models, and that's what people should do. And I think they haven't, let's look at me, my wife, but you know how much anyway, wife just walked past. And I would accept, if we can, definitively, and not if just someone, there are actually people online who, where they share photos, trying to debunk flat Earth, and they'll show a bridge or I think it's the Lake Pontchartrain, if I've said that right, where these, a bridge will curve, and they've taken a photo. But it's not, so I wouldn't accept just anything, There's got to be a level of standard that I'm at now that, you can't just throw anything and I've got to believe it, no.
Okay, can we talk a bit about the social media aspect of it? So I know, I think it was back in 2015, around 2015, when YouTube was apparently shamelessly promoting flat Earth videos, and then people who weren't even interested.
Were they? Yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Do you know Mark Sargent?
Yes.
I talked to him about this. He was saying,
I didn't realise it was that where they were just promoting, but I thought it was to people like me that were already interested. But maybe maybe it was popping. It would have been, I guess, if they were looking at other conspiracy theories.
I think
it would have started popping up.
He showed me a video of this one guy who he ended up posting a video on YouTube about how to turn off flat Earth recommendations. I think he said something like, I watched like one video by accident or something, and now it just keeps recommending them to me. And then he goes like to his homepage, or top page, and it's all just like flat Earth stuff, and he's like, how do I start this?
That was it, yeah.
And then I guess a lot of like mainstream media, they took hold of this and said that, YouTube is the culprit in promoting flat Earth, and that's why there's a growing number of them. And then I think they had a Senate hearing, and then they stopped promoting it, and then I guess flat earthers went to other mediums like Twitter and like all
and Rumble and all the other new video platforms. But you're right, I guess. And now that I think about it, because it would have, if you've watched something and then you're right, and if you went somewhere and went, I used to watch a lot of flat Earth debunking videos. I was like, that's where I went. As I said from the get-go, I was like, I'm going to debunk flat Earth. So I'd go and, how to debunk flat Earth, and all those videos would come up. So then I remember one day after seeing and seeing discrepancies behind, or, these guys, I read a Siemens proved it, and I'd see something else, go, no, he didn't, and then go, hang on a sec, maybe I don't know enough. So one day I had the guts to go, how to prove, I decided to go the opposite way, and, I'm going to look for a flat Earth video by, then that's when I probably found guys like Mark Sargent and all that. But it did, once you type that, if you are leaning this way, how to debunk, it'll give you all the flat Earth debunking ones. But if you now type something that way, or leaning towards or favouring flat Earth, it changed everything. It was daily videos would come up on YouTube. Massive, like, I don't know how many hours of spend just every day. Yeah. So
Oh,
did
so you
YouTube, and yeah, it was a huge part of it actually, YouTube, because that was
For you.
all the good stuff was there.
Okay.
The really good videos were there that Google or YouTube and Google have censored since then, including, as you said, with that Senate hearing, where I just uploaded that to my channel a few days ago, where I thought it was the CEO of Google, but it wasn't the CEO. It was of YouTube. It was one of their representatives. But she's asked, how are we going to, in the Senate, how are we going to shut this? There's a lot of people looking at you. She said, looking at flat Earth. No, they didn't say, he didn't bring up flat Earth. She did. I think. I can't remember which way it goes, but something like that. There's a lot of conspiracies out there. What are you going to do about it? She says, oh yeah, flat Earth. She brings up, and we're going to put a box underneath it saying that, this is an archaic model and, outdated. And that's what they've done since then. And
Yeah, it's a link to
very
the
hard to find
Wikipedia page.
genuine videos now. And even if you're looking for a specific direct video, it'll give you all the, Professor Dave and all these guys, who's not a professor. He's not even a professor. How do you call yourself professor and have millions of followers that think you're a professor?
What does he do?
He's failed. He went to university, tried to get into astrophysics, dropped out of that, got into something else, dropped out of that. Now he says, literally, he makes videos debunking this and he gets millions of views, and he probably just doesn't need to do anything because YouTube pays him a mozza. Because if you type flat Earth, he goes first. Yeah, which is ridiculous. So they've made a career out of it. These guys debunking flat Earth, they love us. It's their new career. That's what they do. And they say the same thing, and they just, call you, all sorts of words. Yeah, it's getting good though. It's juicy because they cannot stop it. It's unstoppable for some reason, because the truth cannot be stopped. I think Buddha said, there are three things you can't hide: the sun, the moon, and the truth. And that's so true. Yeah, because what's true is true. It's like you can't, if it's a ball, it's a ball. I'm Greek, man. I'd love it to, because I had an ego thing. I was like, oh yeah, I'm Greek. I can prove it as well, and be a modern day Greek to prove it. But no, it went the other way. Yeah, it was like interesting times. Very interesting times.
So does Melbourne have like a society or a kind of group?
We've had quite a few meetups in Melbourne, and I'm always astounded when I go there because, who's going to be... And it's just normal people. There'll be 20, 30 people who... Yeah, but it's getting big now, so we do have... There are quite often meetups at different locations, and we'll meet up and, have a barbecue or something, and it's really cool. I'm going to do one, so I want to organise one, actually, because it's growing so much. It's, massive. Yeah.
And do you think social media has had a role in that?
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Just being able to share information the way we are now is massive. And sometimes I post on my Twitter, quite often, and just getting people to. I don't like saying, "Oh, the Earth's flat." No. I don't do it like that. I go, last thing, I post a picture of a lake that's perfectly still, and say, "Do you really think we're spinning 1,000 miles an hour?" And people go, and all the trolls will come in and, "Oh, you're an idiot," or whatever. But a lot of people go, "No, I never thought about that. Is that how fast we're moving? Is that what they say?" So just in getting that out there and making people think is huge. Yeah, social media is a massive part of that. But I'm quite often surprised by the amount of likes and the people that actually are thinking and the views on, you get 500,000 views on something that, is everyone...
Is this on Facebook or...
On Twitter? Yeah, something like that. It's massive, yeah. But again, not posting, I like posting funny stuff as well. Because laughter is the best medicine, as they say. We should laugh about, And I don't know why people get so triggered over this. So what? Who cares what it is? I just let it go and just go, who cares? I don't really care anymore. But I just want the truth. Does it affect me if it's... Does it? No.
But I guess it did trigger you at the start,
It
right?
did,
Because...
yeah. At the start, it was no way. I didn't want a dumbed down society. I didn't want to, lead us to idiocracy, if you like. And I think that's why, I think we're looked at, like that often, that we're dumb, we don't know. But as I said before, we know our model inside out. We know the heliocentric model. Sure, we don't know everything about this plate. Like, do I know if there's a firmament above us, as, biblically written, and not only but many cultures talk about the firmament. Not only that, it's sort of a necessity for our atmosphere to be contained. Like, otherwise, the atmosphere would go out into space. What do people say? It's gravity as acting as a barrier, holding this atmosphere here. But gravity is not a physical object, so it's supposed to be a force, and it's not even a force. So when you dive into gravity, that becomes a very that's one of my favourite topics, and I was afraid to touch that because at school it was like, we're showing examples like, oh, there's gravity. They drop something and that, and then tell you that everything is attracted by mass, and the larger it is, the larger the mass, and the larger the gravity. And we have this type of gravity and that type. We've got little g and big G, and now there are explanations that are, it puts gravity to the wayside. It's like, electrostatic forces, and we live in an electromagnetic universe. And I think we're electric too. Yeah, it's a very interesting times ahead. That's what I reckon. And I hope that someone can prove the Earth is a sphere, because I just want to go back to my old life. I do. Sometimes I think
it's taken over your life.
Yeah, it does in a way. It does, and especially from a thought point of view. Because I want, what can I do? What can we do to prove? And that's what I want to, dive down. There's got to be some actual proof that we can do. We can, as I said before, high altitude balloons and testing the physics of water is a big thing. Well, we should know, we know water's level, so where's the curve?
So do you think there's definitive proof that the Earth is flat at the moment?
There's definitive proof. I'm going to say yes, because water is level over, just the physics of water and fluid dynamics and the height and fluid statics. I'm going to say yes, that water would be the ultimate proof that there is no curvature, because it's level. And it's level at rest. So, and it does that no matter how you tilt it. So if we had water at the side of the ball, it just doesn't work, right? Because everything is, it works across a plane and a planular environment. And I think there's proof if you trust yourself, your natural senses as well. But we're told not to trust our senses. Yeah. I literally don't trust yourself. How can I trust my senses when I cross the road, when I drive a car, when I hold a glass of anything or I hold a pizza? I'm trusting my senses. So I think there's proof, but and our eyes. I think once I go back to that, because once you understand how your eyes work, that becomes part of the proof. And it's not one proof. That's the thing about this. It's not one. Okay. Water's level, no, you got to go beyond and just question everything. Go, question the heliocentric model. Is there proof for that? We need to ask. Because if I'm going to ask, is that, no. Do it. And when you said, is there proof, and I've said it before anyway, that we don't have a map. I don't know how big the Earth is. I don't know how high the firm, or if there's a barrier, or what's going up. Is the sky the limit, as they say? But we should be doing that from both models, if you like. Is there proof of heliocentricity? And that's why I discarded heliocentricity, because there wasn't enough proof. So, is there proof that the Earth is motionless? Yep, I can feel it right now.
So you have Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and a book. How would you compare those, I guess, in terms of how they've reached other people, or how they've impacted other people, I guess? Do people come up to you and say, oh, I've read your book, or I saw you post this, or I watch your YouTube?
I do, actually. And even people that, it's funny because I've lived in Melbourne most of my life, but the guy I grew up with, one of my neighbours, we were best friends, played cricket, or whatever, being kids, and then I hadn't seen him for 20 years or something, And it was through Facebook, actually. He wrote to me, went, "You're a flat earther too." I was like, "No way, so are you." And it happened about a month or two ago. I was driving through Clayton Shopping Centre and pulled over. As soon as I got out of my car, opened the door, this guy went, "Billy Zagouras, the earth's not flat." And I was like, "Oh no." Like, he yelled it out to everyone, right? Good on you, say it louder, why don't you? Anyway, so he's like, "Come over here, come over." I was like, "No, I don't want to go over there." So I'd gone to the shop that I was going to. There goes the ball. And that was closed. Had to go, going back to my car. I was like, "I'll go over there and chat with him." So he was someone I hadn't seen for again, like since I was 18 or something. And he'd seen me on having an interview with Eric Debay. Have you heard of Eric Debay?
Yes.
Yeah, so I did an interview with Eric. He's like, "You're on Eric Debay's channel." So a lot of people are. And that's when these two other guys came out of the cafe, and there was another, one of his friends go, "There's no way the Earth's flat." No. And then these two guys come out of the shop and go, "Do you know these guys are flat earthers?" And they happen to be astrophysicists from Monash University, both of them. And they're like, oh, and they sat down and we had that was the guy, people I was saying before, 2.5 hours. They love the topic. They love learning. They love learning both models because that's why you go to university to learn and expand and, and it was great. And it was great to have a chat with people that are, that are open-minded. But going back to answer your question, I do get a lot of people that, reach out to me and, you open my eye, or they'll say just things that sort of go, okay, I'm going to keep doing this because people are, but for some reason, okay, this is a big one. This is the biggest one, and, why would they lie? I get, that comes back to the conspiratorial point of view that, the Big Bang Theory and evolution and all of this stuff is like, takes you away from the thought of creation, that, we were created. It's like, and I got to that point, during my life, it's like, we're just random. Who cares what happens? We're just like, a ball flying through space. Could be other balls out there that have got people, like maybe the aliens made us. And I started even going to that point of view. Okay, I don't believe in God anymore, but now I believe aliens, mate. So they got, you know what I mean? It's really complex. But a lot of people that dive into this topic and they start seeing creation, that this place is not a random accident. These fish weren't just randomly designed or coerced through a collision that occurred billions of years ago, and neither were we. This is a special place, and we're here with a reason, and we're here with, to learn. So I don't know why we're here. I still can't work that out. But it's certainly not to think that we're just egotistical humans that believe everything occurred from nothing. And, this topic leads people back to God. I'll be that open. Yeah, it really does. They sort of go, we're not random, really. And, I've met so many people that talk to how many people, you'll see their testimonies online, that they were full-on atheists and then they hated flat earth and they tried to debunk it and now they believe in God. Like, what's that about? So there's nothing really wrong with it. And as long as you don't become like the good thing is that people that do come to that conclusion, most of them are open and not divisive on the other religions. It's like, well, I don't care, maybe we're all talking about the same thing, that there is a creator. And all of these, your religion spoke about flat earth and so did mine. And, this is a topic that has been going on for millennia, right? And I thought it was, settled with. But even when you look back and as recent as I said, 1900, this is discussed at schools. It was taught at schools. A lot of people were taught flat earth as early as recent as 1910s and 20s and 30s and 40s. And it was only till NASA came that everyone sort of went, oh, yeah, they went to the moon. Oh, there's the ball. We saw the ball like it was on TV, on black and white TV. It's gone. And that's when it was settled for a lot of people. So, yeah, fascinating topic, especially with the people and the outreach. And you get people that we have formed a bit of a community online.
In Melbourne or just in general?
Worldwide?
Yeah, I know about that.
It's massive, isn't it? And we're all, we're all friends. There's a bit of infight, like, oh, I believe in that, and how can you say? But most people, they have, come to the conclusion that we're not living on a ball. We're pretty close and tight, and we're going to get bigger, and we're getting bigger. as I was saying before with the numbers, I'm not sure exactly how big Melbourne, like what have we got in Melbourne? 5 million people. And even if 5% of them thought the earth was flat, what's that? 250,000 people. That's huge. So yeah, we should have a party. I'm going to do that. We should wouldn't want to protest or anything. Imagine the flat earthers in the protest. Oh, the earth is flat. So that'd be crazy, wouldn't it? That would hit the media and everyone would be crazy, you know. It's funny, but I think there are a lot of people who do believe the earth's flat, but they're just afraid to say it as well, because you know your friends, persecution from your friends, your workplace as well. Pilots are speaking out about it. Pilots are saying the earth is flat. But they're under confidentiality agreements, so a lot of them now are being toned down. But I've got friends who are pilots and think the earth is flat.
Really?
Yeah. Because when they get up that high, they just see way too far. And when you look at even from NASA, who has to tell you a bit of the truth, but all their documents, when they look at flight dynamics, all talk about a flat stationary Earth, non-movable. Why would you teach your pilots that? Because if there's curvature, a pilot should go up and eventually have to account for the dip of the Earth. But they say it's gravity again. Gravity does that for him. The pilot doesn't know. He's just clinging to the surface and it doesn't matter what's it. No. Pilots know when that plane is using a gyroscope and the altimeter. They know exactly when it's dipping or moving or tilted up. So pilots are now waking up to this too. Huge. Yeah.
But they didn't. So are they waking up mainly because they've been seeing other people talk about it? Or is it because it's intuitive and they just realise
a lot of them never thought about it before. That's what a lot of pilots are saying. They just go like, I never thought of that before. Why didn't I think of that? It's amazing. They were taught to fly over a flat surface and know when there's a mountain because they have to adjust for it and move over, that's what they're trained, but they never thought about, they were never trained to account for sphericity or the curvature and the spin. Because if the Earth is a sphere and it's 40,000 kilometres at the equator and spins at 1,666 kilometres on average, then down here, it's in Australia, they say we're only spinning at 1,000 kilometres an hour. And at the poles, it's 0. So this creates a big problem because on a sphere, you'd have a Coriolis effect. Like at what point, you mean they're flying over a sphere and the runway is that way and they're landing and the runway's moving below them? And what about flying the other way of the spin? So a lot of pilots, they just never really thought about this, and a lot of them are still adamant. I had an interview from a student, I think it was from Monash University. She was doing, it was about 5 years ago, but she interviewed me and a pilot, and the interviews online, and it was, that guy, bless his soul, but whatever. So I don't think he understood, the proof, he didn't have any solid proof. Pilot, anyway. It should be in their manuals that, but it's not, and all of the documents, when you go back and look at flight dynamics, they all talk about a non-rotating Earth. Flat, they mention many, many times. So many documents. It's not just that. Yeah. So the scientists, I reckon, not most, but many do. Many who have studied this Earth know, but they're probably too afraid to say it. Poor things. They'll come out. Don't worry, we'll get them out there, out of the closet, if you like.
So how often do you do interviews or talk to people about this?
I've probably done a dozen interviews and, chat to people pretty much every day about this. Yeah, it's a daily thing. I would need to do more interviews. I did one about 6 weeks ago. That was more broad. They were asking me about all types of conspiracy theories, which a lot of them I just had to go, I don't know. I'll take, especially when it comes, I don't think they ask me about Bigfoot, but I don't believe in any of that sort of stuff. I'm, pretty level-headed, if you like. But I try to tell as many people as I can pretty much on a daily basis, and, I'm writing a new book at the moment, sort of aimed at the younger generation, just try and get people to think. It doesn't mention flat Earth, but I want people to think, I want people to ask themselves, like, how far is the sun? I want I'd love to see a world where people are more educated, to be honest, yeah? Not, people, like a lot of the youth are really focused on celebrities and they've got this big celebrity and they've got to be fantastic. Why don't you learn and, we should know.
Yeah, that's why I think, because you said you're writing a new book to target at the younger generation.
This new one that I'm doing,
don't they not read?
Yeah, well, that's the problem, isn't it? Yeah, sort of going, well, why write this if no one's going to read? But then you could do it as an audio book. And then, what I really love and being a parent would be great if the parent read it to them. Yeah? Spend
Like
more time with them and get them off the
book.
phone and put your phone down and we're reading together. And I've got a good friend of mine, he's got 3 kids and he does it every night. And father's great. Like, and mother, read to your kids and get them to learn and listen and spend that quality time. See photos online with, people. Saw a photo, it disturbed me. It was a photo of a video actually of a grandmother out with her grandson having dinner or lunch they were having. And he was just on the phone and she was just looking around and that was like heartbreak, yeah. So
that's the norm now, though.
Isn't it, though? It's sad, yeah. So if we can get back to, reading more and, it's really hard these days, isn't it? On getting, what medium can we use to just spread the message, yeah, and talk and, TikTok.
Apparently TikTok is quite big for Flat Earth.
It's huge. Flat Earth is really, I think it's been censored now. They're deleting a lot of channels. And I think it had 5 billion searches.
It's definitely
I've seen
lot.
varying...
I've seen videos with like millions of views.
Yeah, millions and millions of views. But I think someone, there's a meme going around where it had 1.5 billion searches, but then I think I saw 8 billion, so I'm not sure what's actually true. But that doesn't mean, every person, a lot of people, multiple searches they're doing, because it's a very addictive sort of topic. Once you get into this, topic, you just want to know more. And I, as I said, when I started, I just kept looking for high altitude. I just wanted to see the curve and, how high can we see this curve? And I type, things and I go, hang on, we're seeing too far. And as a world record, the one that really got me, and that's the, I found, it was the one that I found, because back then there was flat earthers, but not, at this point that it is now. So there was still a lot of discovery out there. And I remember one day I thought, what's the world record long distance photo? And I typed that. And then there's a website called Beyond Horizons. Exactly, people out there, that's their hobby. Taking long distance. Wow, how boring is that, I thought, right? But now it's like what I do. Now that I do that. But funny thing is, that, not the funny, but then that was like jaw-dropping, because when I saw the longest distance photo, it was 273 miles, which is 440 kilometres. That's like halfway between here to Adelaide or here to Sydney sort of thing. Yeah, but it was like mountaintop to mountaintop. But even when you, take away the altitude and the height of the mountain, you factor all these things in on an Earth curvature calculator, there was it 7,000 feet of missing curvature? And that was, and that's a world record photo. So one thing the Guinness World Record doesn't do is include optical illusions. So if I do an optical illusion, that won't get me into the Guinness. It's got to be a physical experiment, physical stuff. So when you said before about refraction, they know, although it's not a real photo, because you're seeing, it could probably be a real photo around the curve, but that's not how it's said. However, since then, because I reckon the guy who took the photo, Mark, I can't remember his name, but he must have copped so much crap from flat earthers that then he went and updated the comment on the description. He said, that was refraction was a factor. Yeah, it's like... So there's a big... we've got a battle ahead. I forgot your question. So sorry about that.
I think we're talking about different mediums to spread the message.
Yeah.
And then... So do you think that the flat Earth movement would have grown if not for social media? Because I was actually interviewed a professor of communications about this as well, and then he was saying he thinks that it's a really big factor because probably like 50 or 100 years ago, like what would you do if you were a flat earther?
Very
like,
good question.
You'd probably just tell like friends, family, like you couldn't really spread it, right?
That's interesting. And him being a professor in communication, like, you know, I'm sure he knows. But I wonder whether I'm sure he knows a lot, I was going to say. But I wonder if he knows that back then in 1900, there was so many challenges at the time on flat Earth. Because there was a guy that did the Bedford level experiment, which is a place in England, in Bedford. And there's a canal that goes for several miles. So what he did is he set up marker points along there because he tried to prove the sphericity of the Earth and whether there was curvature. So he put up poles and they could see through. So back then there were challenges in people were betting $5,000, and it was in newspapers back then. Front page of newspaper. You'd see, you'd be amazed. Go, what? So we're told that this topic has been settled for 500 years, or the Greeks said 2000. No, even back then, there were newspaper articles, there were books. I couldn't believe how many books were written back then on flat Earth, publicly, with the people saying, here's my address, let's go out, we'll do our experiments. And there were actually, as I said, monetary challenges out there that were never settled. Interesting. So I wonder whether this professor would actually know and dive, because it's hard to find these articles.
I guess not, because he doesn't specialize in this kind of stuff.
I wrote about that in the book, and I think I outlined several articles written back then. And even there was a school back then who started teaching the kids that their students that the Earth was a sphere, and teaching the heliocentric model. And the parents sued the school. They sued the dean because they were like, no, it's not. So this topic has been going for a while. Would it have grown so much without social media? No way. This is
because like global spread, even with like newspapers, it's just
for
like
sure.
local
No, because
thing,
you can't see what are you going to see in a newspaper? And now we're doing videos and the P900. You can go online and watch people zooming in well beyond. P1000 is now 125 times zoom. So you're seeing, you can zoom into the moon with a camera like that, and question whether it's 400,000 or 240,000 miles, 400,000 kilometers away. No way it is. Yeah. And now we can share that. I could go and take some video, which I often do, and zoom into the moon, and you know what's happening now? I can post that online, and then someone can go at the very same time, I could see the moon here too. We couldn't do that 100 years ago. Yeah? That's huge. We can synchronize what we see from other places in the world for the first time in our lives. It's never been done before. And I wonder if people, and I've got a project that I'm working on called Test the Curve Day. So I'm doing some things, at a mental
Curve Day.
It's called Test the Curve Day. And it's got thousands of people it was actually the day it was scheduled to occur on the 21st of March, 2020. We got locked down. When it was it was heaps of people. There are globe earthers involved. Yeah, I'm going to go and do this experiment. Let's test the curve. You want to do a high altitude balloon? You want to get a group of people and go and set a watermark or a level or do whatever you want. And it was, but then I've got to do it yet because now it's a lot of people. But I want to do things like that, physical things we can all get involved in.
So did you create like an event on Facebook?
There is, Test the Curve Day. Yeah, it's got, I'm now going to go and continue that. I've just been so busy working on different things, and but that's something that we should, as humanity, do. And I wonder my point being, we can now do that and share this information just so easily, where 100 years ago, no. What could we do? Yeah, good point, hey? So we live in very, interesting times. I think there's a Chinese proverb that said, may you live during interesting times, or something like that. And I love that, because we live in, I know it's challenging for humanity, and we're going, we see a lot of things that we never thought we'd see with our very own eyes, but at the same time, we do live, as it says, in interesting times. And I hope that we can, I hope we get through. If there's one thing is there anything the world agrees upon being a fact?
I guess not.
No, is there? Yeah.
No.
Like, and I wonder whether we could go back, like, because, you know, when I was young, I'd say most people in the 1960s and 70s, well, before that, but when I was born in 1970, so when I was young, most people believed in God, and if you said, you know, I believe in God, and if you said, I believe in aliens, you'd be looking like, what? You're alien? But now, it's flipped. They've inverted that. If you said to me, oh, do you believe in aliens? If I said no, really, there's got to be aliens. There's more planets, and there's more, and, you know, so we're like, yeah, they've inverted that. And if you said, do you believe in God? God, oh, you're an idiot. Like, really? Have you seen God? Well, you know, you know. Have you seen the aliens that you believe in? I could quite easily do that, you know. So I just hope the world can come to an agreement on just one thing.
I don't think that's possible.
I don't think it's possible, is it?
Possible.
No, it's not.
No.
It's sad, isn't it? Yeah, and that's sort of disheartening from, you know, what we're trying to do and, you know, share information and, you know, we've got a resistance. You know, we're not trying to, like, I'm not trying to convert your child to be, you know, like another agenda or something. I'm just trying to share information about and get people to think, right? And if that leads people to creation without labeling it anything, because I don't like, or, you know, like this religion and that religion, they're fighting with each other. So you both believe in God and you're fighting with each other. That's crazy. It just goes against, you know what I mean? And no wonder why people move away from it. True? I don't know, true or not. Yeah, but I think it does to a point where people go, really? That's how, or just the way some of these priests behave and what they do. Anyway, I'm really going off topic. But
no, I think, like, religion is really dogmatic. Like, they just
Isn't it?
believe their set of principles and rules and what they believe in, and it's
and you know, oh no, you know, my God's better than yours and all that sort of thing, and that's terrible. And my book is sort of like, I don't want to plug it again, but it, you know, it's so like, I just want to explain to people why I did it. It wasn't like, oh, the Earth's flat. It's a book that'll make you think, and it talks about religion.
That one?
Yeah, and it talks about evolution. Actually, that's for you.
Oh, thank you.
You can have that copy, yeah. I'll sign it for you if you like.
Oh,
and
great.
yeah, it sort of gets people thinking from a different point. And I don't, you know, so you got to think like this. I just want to lay down both models. So I show you what the curves, tell you what the heliocentric model says and what we think. And just the discrepancies behind, like, I don't know if you know, like, that Copernicus said the sun was 3 million miles away. Then you got another guy who said 13 million miles away. Then, but at the end of it, they said, oh, it still doesn't matter what it is. It's all still the same. Really? You know, well, your math we rely on facts. And now they've come to the conclusion it's 93 million miles away. You know, NASA's sending a probe there. It's going to touch the sun and, like, really? Like, yeah, so...
Oh, can we talk a bit about your book?
Yeah, sure.
So, self-published?
I did self-publish it, yeah. Yeah, it took about 2 years to write after, you know, thousands of hours of research, yeah, because I wasn't going to write anything I didn't think was, you know, the truth, come down to that. And I want to, and it was like a challenging write as well, because not only, okay, do I, you know, write this book, but what are people going to think when I write it? Because now I'm putting it out there, you know, getting attacked by people. And
so have people actually attacked you because they saw you wrote a flat earth book?
Yeah, for sure.
Really?
You know, I still get people, like, even the other day, goes, oh, did you go to school? Did you even go to school? Like, and just stuff like that. And then someone will go, oh, he wrote a book. And then I'll go, oh, no, he wrote a book. And they're like, you're just like, oh, gee, I committed a crime. You know what I mean? Like, shouldn't be allowed to write books. So if it gets censored to the point where we can't even express ourselves for writing a book, right? That's bad. And you know, I'm gonna go next level on them, because I'm gonna turn that into a movie. Is what I want to do. Yeah, that's my grand aim. So yeah, like, and maybe that's how we reach a different, group of people through another media. And Netflix did a hit piece on flat Earth behind the curve, and I've never even seen it. So I just know it's a Netflix. Really, I'm going to get my science from Netflix? Like,
I don't think it was, because I talked to Mark about this and he said that it wasn't, like, they didn't even really think that Netflix was going to pick it up. Like, they just produced it and then Netflix picked it up and then it became, like, a really big
apparently there's a couple of guys and they started it well before Netflix was even involved, and then they produced it and went, because I know a lot of people that were in that, like Jaron, Mark Sargent. I think Mark Sargent got a spot in there as well. Bob Nodell, who's passed away now. Nathan Thompson. But those guys were, not told the truth to start, and they didn't present the real evidence. They didn't present the truth. But that's when it then got picked up. I think they got it, built it, and then realised, we can make some money out of this. They went and sold it to Netflix, and Netflix picked it up. Yeah. But the experiments, we wouldn't even call them experiments. I think they tried to say that Bob Nodell picked up a 15-degree shift of the Earth, that proved the Earth moving. But, that gyroscope, the laser gyroscope he was using, the firmware in there, like, with the firmware, what's built into that isn't designed to do that. And if anything, he pretty much did what the Michelson-Morley experiment did, was prove that the Earth is moving above rather than that. Because when you hear Bob Nodell explain that, he goes to he tests it at this level, then he goes to a mountain, and it gave different results. So you can't just now, what is happening is not definitive. And if it was so true that happened, and people go, flat Earth approved that, don't move the motion, prove that Earth is in motion, well, why don't they go out and do it? Because someone could win the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm serious. That's what you would win. If you proved the curve, you'd get that sort. You'd be like, Australian of the Year sort of stuff, yeah? You'd be on every news channel around the world. This person proved the curve of the Earth, proved it's in motion. Like, you'd be the most famous scientist of all time. That's where it's at. That should interest people. I hope that inspires someone to go, I'm going to go and do that. Go and try it. Prove it. Shut us down. Shut me down. And I'll become one of your biggest proponents. I will tell everyone. If there was fact, I could honestly say that right now, if there was definitive proof, and I went and shared that on, that a lot of people would trust what I'm saying. Go, hang on. If that guy's changing back to that model, why did you change? Because of this experiment, that one. They'd go, you know what? You got us. We're going back too. Put it to bed. It's gone. Go back to our normal lives,
So then you would disagree with the argument that, I guess, people think that flat earthers, like, they're not going to believe anything that they're told, right?
I disagree with that.
They think there's, like, an inherent bias, like, you just see what you want to see.
No, I don't think so. No, none of us want to be where we're at. Maybe some do, but no, I'd say the majority are just like, just want to go back to their normal life. And if it was evidence, definitely. We should have, on the moon right now, there should be a camera pointing down to the Earth. Imagine if a company did that. I'd love to do that. Imagine that, like, get there, you got a 4K camera pointing down, and just go on YouTube, and not on YouTube, but you could subscribe to it, and I could zoom into the Earth, and we should have that sort of technology, and that would be definitive. Like, really? Like, a camera that we could see the Earth revolving, and see other satellites whizzing by and all of that. We don't see anything. So I'd expect that sort of level of proof at this stage, yeah. It's not just about the, curvature. It's not just about, it's about space. Because that's what they sold us. That's what they're selling. That's taking, like, billions of dollars of resources away from what we could do here on Earth. That's a big thing for me. What are you wasting your money up there for? I brought up before, it's a huge part of this thing, and even if it was real, it's still a waste of money. Is it? Not really. Space exploration should be good. And, humans are adventurous, aren't we? Yeah, we've always, is there more land that way, and we cross the seas and, risk lives to do that. So, and wouldn't it be, imagine if it was like, imagine if millions of people just sort of went, oh shit, we were wrong. I mean, my side, if all the flat earthers went, oh God, we're wrong, because look, it's finally been proven. I think most of them would admit it. Yeah, I think most would. there'd be still that. There's always been hardcore people that have believed in. I think a lot of people from a religious point of view will never accept. Some people want the Earth to be, not created, but geocentric because the Bible says it. But I think most people, when you get into this topic, you get into it because of science. Like I want to prove, it's like you're learning, and it's good because even the globe Earth, like the big hardcore, they're learning too. We're all learning. They didn't know the model. We're teaching them. Like even a lot of the interviews, going back to that, I've done many interviews and debates on the modern day debate channel, which I don't like debating. Well, what's the point of it? I'm not going to change your mind in a debate. Not one person at the end of one of those debate shows goes, you know what? I was wrong. You were right. Right? So it's like, having discussions. I'd prefer to have discussions with people. But on that modern day debate show, I had to spend half the show educating this guy on his own model. Like how fast he, So if there's one thing that's come out of it, it's good that people are, questioning and learning,
Facilitating communication and discussion.
Definitely, and that would be ideal. Wouldn't it be great if we could get to that point and just have that, good discuss, like what's happening now, so this is good. But, but to have a logical discussion without, people getting triggered or calling names and all that sort of thing. And Mark Sargent, he must have heard it all, that guy, yeah? And a lot of others too, but Mark Sargent especially, but he leaves his lines open and he's like, call me anytime, but he's getting a lot of professionals that are calling in, pilots and all type, architects and all types. So no, we don't factor in curvature in any project. And the Suez Canal, I think it's 100 miles long, and they didn't factor full curvature whatsoever in that project. And actually, that's noted, I think it was in 1900s in a newspaper article, which I've got, and it states that, all the engineers that didn't take the job on because they thought they'd have to factor in sphericity, the curve. And then the guy that actually won it went, nah, water's level, I'm going to cut straight across there, the water's going to settle over that distance, because that's what it does, and you can extend that out and just keeps doing it. And he won. And then it became written, I think it's in British law, that no project ever should account, a curvature. So it's interesting that, what I find interesting and what really blew me away was that I thought there would be nothing like that in press like 1900s of people still thinking that the Earth is flat, let alone 120 years later. Yeah, so how about yourself when you first heard about this? What did you...
Like back when I really first heard about it? Yeah, I guess it's the same. It's the same as, I guess what everyone thinks, like how can people still think
this?
Like, how's that possible?
How's it possible?
Didn't
you go to school? Do you know? Yeah, did you have the day off that day?
Yeah, pretty much. But no, like I do think that there are gaps in their model, like the heliocentric model, and I do think that there's definitely merits to the flat Earth model. But I guess I'm undecided. Yeah, cool. Yeah. That's good. That's good to be at that point where because I believe that means that you're looking at both sides, and that's good, rather than just... There are a lot of people that are just going, no, I'm not looking at that. I could tell them about this brilliant documentary, The Principle, that I mentioned. They go, no, I'm not wasting an hour and a half of my life on that. Like, really? So it's good that I'm pleased that you are thinking of it from both sides. And how long ago was it that you first heard of it? Like flat Earth in general, or when I started thinking that? Yeah, flat Earth in general. I think maybe 10 years ago. Yeah, it was, right. So that long ago as well. Yeah. Because it's been around for, you'd think something I think it became kind of popular to make fun of flat earthers. The joke, how can you be as stupid as a flat earther? It sort of did. You say something and then people compare it to being a flat earther. That's the ultimate stupid. Absolutely, yeah. Especially during, what happened to me during COVID, because I was anti-lockdown. I hate being locked down in any environment, and I didn't see the merit in the way the government was handling it. Anyway, that's another topic. But if I went on Facebook or Twitter and commented and said, oh, no, that's not right what Dan Andrews is doing,
people would go, oh, I bet you're a flat earther too. And then
Yeah.
they'd come back there next time, they'd go, oh my God, he is a flat earther. I just checked out your profile. And then they would all dive in like, like. So I get you, like it was a mock, like you say you disagree with something, you must be a flat earther. Like, it's funny how that occurred, but he who has the last laugh laughs loudest, and that's where it's especially when a lot of them then become flat earthers.
Really?
How does that happen? Yeah, I've had
I guess
it's not
that's
my
true.
position's not unique. Like we all thought
yeah,
the Earth was a ball.
I think so too.
We all thought it before none of us went to school and got taught. I didn't even hear about flat Earth at school. I'm not joking. There was no mention of there was possible another model, and it's funny that when I went to school, the model has changed since I went to school, because they told us when I went to school that it was the Earth's shadow that created, every day we have a phase of the moon. They said it was the Earth's shadow that created that, not only for eclipses, but also for,
Okay,
so the model changed, and people still say that online. They go, oh no, the phase of the moon is because the Earth's in the way of the moon, and that creates the perfect, no, even the mainstream tells you. So they probably went to school at the same era as me, because when I was young as well, they didn't teach us that the sun moved at 500,000 miles an hour. It was only we went around the sun. It was a very and all the other planets did too, in this ecliptical plane. But now it's different. Have you seen the current model of the heliocentric?
I've seen it on Flat Earth channels.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And each one of them should have a relative speed. Not to mention we see the same stars in the constellations. And we say, Polaris has been at the centre for, since time immemorial. But people go, oh no, it hasn't. It's shifted 1 degree over the last 4,000 years. How would you test that? How did you test it 4,000 years ago to now? And, that probably leads me back to that, the ability that we have now to do group experimentation. And that's huge. I see a big, either way, I'd love to see a collective experiment, like a worldwide experiment to, test the curve of the Earth to start with. And then test the, with spinning. And, it's got to be settled at some point, doesn't it? Or do we just keep doing this forever? Just arguing and,
I think probably the latter. Probably the latter.
I think so as well. Yeah, that's what concerns me. That we'll never get to a point of
But I don't know. Maybe at one point it'll, flat Earth will hit the tipping point, and then more people will believe.
I'm thinking that we're leading towards that. And when I see a lot of surveys online, like you get a Twitter channel who's got 500,000 followers, and he'll mock flat Earth. So he'll do a poll, and okay, I just want to settle this between is the Earth flat or is it spherical? Or round, they'll say. And 60-70% of people are saying flat. And which leaves them gobsmacked, because they're going, oh my God, because the thing on a Twitter poll,
it's anonymous.
And your friends aren't going to see that you think it's flat. And that's a big thing. On Facebook is a different thing, because you don't want your friends to sort of see, and they can see what you liked and you loved in your heart, you know what I mean? But on these polls, they're anonymous, and I don't know what's happening with X lately, but it's blowing up. Like it's different. It's a different platform to a couple of years ago after Elon Musk bought it out. And I don't even know what to think of that guy,
Yeah, because he's the main.
He's sending rockets up, and But the good thing is, I've seen some of those rockets that he's sent, and they look like they're scraping the waters above. It's have you seen some of that footage? Crazy. What is it? I can't tell what it is. I can't definitively say what it is, but I don't know anymore. And he sent a red car into space, and he said something like, you can tell it's real because it looks so fake. We'll do a better job than and people believe, I don't know whether he's in, does he know, does he not? But my point was that X has that Twitter platform entirely has changed, and it's a lot more open now, and we're not getting shadow banned or a little bit of shadow banning, but we're allowed to speak a little bit more freely than, a couple of years ago. So that's a huge, social, getting to the main cruxes, like social media is a big part of it, There's no doubt about it. I don't think it would have ever grown without the combination of video, the Twitters and all these platforms that we can, talk about it. And we're going to reach a tipping point. I definitely think that. I definitely think there's going to come a time where people will go, you're lying, guys, you've been lying. And the good thing about it, like, flat Earth is not a violent topic. Like, we don't, because we leads us to creation, you sort of go, okay, well, if they lied, well, we forgive you, but, just don't do it again. I don't want punishment. I don't want, to see people hung. Yeah, just don't lie. Yeah, you get out of that department. No, let's put real people in there. Let's work out what the stars really are. Because I think if you're an astrophysicist, you'd love to know. That's why you do this. These guys want to know. That's, a lot of them are not like, oh, no, we don't look at that. When I speak to these people, I'm fascinated. And we talk about sonoluminescence, which is like that star in the jar experiment that, they can make a star out of light and sound. And that's, when you look at it, it's like what we're seeing in the sky. And I don't believe these stars are trillions and trillions of miles away and they died years and years, because if that's what an astrophysicist is learning, he's not learning the truth. And I think, when they then get out and they hear that, a lot of them probably have learnt a lot from flat earthers. Yeah. And even with their cameras. And what I find intriguing as well is that a lot of these astrophysicists, they don't actually get time. And the guys I spoke to, they don't get access to the biggest telescopes in the world. They're just trusting what someone else did at that observatory. And the ones that disagree don't get access to it. Like if you say on your application, I don't believe that there is, the stars that far away. I believe it's closer. You just go, nope, you're not getting in. And they, it wasn't like that about 20 years ago. But I've heard a lot of astrophysicists say that their projects have been just put aside. It's like, nah, you're not doing that. Like really good experiments. And it's like, nah, goes against our model. We're not going to do it.
So do you think that other planets are fake? Like, do you think
I think they're lights in the sky. I don't think they're physical bodies that we can land. They are there. They go around. They're not, they're not fake as such. But I don't believe they're solid bodies. Like they tell us, are probably more like luminaries or, I don't know.
Do you think do you think Jupiter looks like what it does? Or like Saturn? No, you don't think so.
What they show us? No, I don't believe any of I think they're all fictitious.
But what about like people who independently have like cameras and they take a photo and it looks like that? Do you think they're also faking it?
Do they have ring? Does
Yes.
Saturn have ring?
Yes.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Because I've got my camera picks that up too. But it's not what. So if you then look at what NASA shows you, it's not the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got a telescope and a camera and binoculars, so I can look at the stars every night.
So Saturn does have rings around it or not?
Saturn, has rings,
okay.
But none of the other planets do. Why is that? Everyone goes, why is everything spherical? Everything else, well, how come that does that and that does that?
Oh.
So we don't know. And what I mean by we don't know is no one has physically gone and touched that object. And I believe that with the moon as well. And there were scientists in the 1960s, it was Robert Forrest, Australian scientist, who said back then that the moon is plasma. It's not a physical body. And he was denying the moon landings before they even went there because he was saying, no, you cannot land on that thing. It's not a physical object, just like the stars, which they say are physical and they're gaseous. Physical gaseous bodies? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that exactly? Like, yeah, it sounds cool. You could say that to someone, wow, your stuff. Like, it's a physical gaseous body and gravity coalesces it to do. Like, really? Yeah, but, so I don't know. I don't think anyone knows.
What about the argument that CGI wasn't good enough back then to, fake the moon landing?
Absolutely, it was.
It was?
Absolutely, yeah. As I said, I grew up in 1970, and one of my favourite shows was there was a movie back then called Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Have you heard of that?
No.
It was about a guy and he gets a car and he gets his family in there and there's a good theme song and they fly. The car flies. This car magically flies. Go look at that. You wouldn't even know if it's real CGI. It was 1967, 2 years before the moon landings. So there was CGI. They've had CGI. And if you look at even presentations that they do on the news back then, breaking, they could always put letters over the screen in layers. It's layering. They could do it in different ways. First, they used to like physically put early TV, but they've always had, was it called CGI? No, because we're computers, but no, they've had Hollywood and the film industry has had many ways of, layering objects and doing things. And it wasn't CGI. The moon landings weren't CGI. It was like done in a
studio.
Yeah, in a studio on Earth. So there was no CGI involved apart from, showing people on black and white TVs back then, and everyone went, wow, and, they would love them. TVs were new. It was only like a 15, 20-year-old invention. Some people just got it for that event. It was the first time they got a TV. They're tuning in black and white, fuzzy picture, wow, wow. And who would ever... And because there was a big psychological warfare happening at the time, Russia, there was a Cold War occurring, they wanted it to... That had to happen. Let's beat those Russians, and that's what it was all about. Nuclear bombs going at the time. Meanwhile, they were setting nuclear up already. Have you heard of Operation Fishbowl?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, crazy. They were actually shooting rock to try and blow the dome up. I don't even know. All of them were called Operation Fishbone, Operation Dominic, which is like dominion, domain, where we live. The Italian word for domain is like home. And they were trying to blow this thing up. Really? So many operations. You go look at them, Operation that, and then Operation High Jump, where they went to Antarctica. That was Admiral Richard Byrd's operation, where they then jumped up. Everyone goes, where's the ice wall? Yeah, they had an operation called Operation High Jump. They took 1,300 soldiers out there, ships, aeroplanes, and they jumped, lifted these objects up onto the ice, above the ice wall, 200 feet high, and then they flew planes out. So there was all these things they didn't tell us at school, and that sort of leads me back to those experiments that I said before, Michelson-Morley, Michelson-Gale, Sagnac, Eris-Failure. Why didn't they teach us about this at school? They didn't teach us about it.
I guess there's a lot of stuff they didn't teach us at school.
I know. And even though, I speak, again, going back to the astrophysicists, I speak to them and go, did you know about that? They go, oh, we didn't know about that. You're an astrophysicist and you don't know about those experiments? Well, they're only partially teaching you that now as well. It doesn't change. So it'd be good if people learnt both models and really, I think that's what's happening. It's, once you do that, you become a different person. You can't see the world again the same way, because then you go outside and you go, oh, wow, that mountain's far. I wonder how far that is. Should we really be seeing that? It's amazing. And even the stars, as you said, the planets, are they real? And what I see to what NASA shows, and, everyone's questioning, not everyone, but a lot of people are questioning those images. And the thing is, it's because NASA says on their website that they are images. They don't say they're photos. It's a really big difference. Image, imagination, to actually a real photo. That, they show us Jupiter and the clouds on Jupiter. I don't know if you've seen that. And then 10 years later, they show you another Jupiter photo and the cloud is in the same spot. How? And photos of our Earth from space, and there are duplicate clouds. But the guys that did that, Robert Simmons, says it's photoshopped, and it has to be. Like, he took data from a flat map and then wrapped it around the ball and added plankton and clouds and made it bluer over here and put this the sun's hot spot over here. Like, then you've just Photoshop. But at least he admitted it. Like, that's, that was crazy when, I think there's a lot of honest people out there still too in these fields. So not everyone's lying. I just think, we're all just compartmentalized into certain topics, and we really haven't looked at the whole, in a complete picture, and that's what you've got to do with this. I don't want anyone like to listen to this or to listen what I say and go, oh yeah, it's flat. I'd hate that to occur. I'd want them to go after many, months or years, and I don't care how long it takes, just observe, think, research, check whether that's true and whether that's, or fake or whatever. And that's where I want to, and I think this is the topic, because no one comes to the conclusion overnight that the earth is flat for just to be popular. It's not popular.
Well, it is arguably becoming more popular.
Well,
now.
it is becoming more popular. Yeah. I got to get with the times, don't I? Because it is getting more popular.
Flat earthers are influencers now.
I guess it is. And I remember a time where I'd go out and for a couple of drinks at the pub, and it was very hostile, like very hostile. If you walk in and somebody go, "Oh, he's a flat earther," like the whole pub would be. But now I go out and it's just different. People are, I've researched that. What do you reckon? And they sort of ask me, and a lot of people say they're sitting on the fence. And, I kind of like that, I don't know how long people will sit there for, but it's better than just being stubbornly, no, I'm not looking into that. And, I think it's becoming, that tipping point's coming. I actually do. I think it's going to get to, 60, 70% of people will, see through it. And what does that mean is it's always scared me, I must admit, because then what happens? Then what? We sack the government, we sack who? What? Where do we run? Or when it reaches that, is it like everything else we do is go, oh, well, doesn't matter. They lied to it.
Has something like that happened?
It feels like it, even with what we just went through,
COVID.
you know what I mean? Oh, well, no one's going to be held accountable. Like, who do you blame, even for the Earth model? Like, you can't. I don't think there is anyone to blame, and I won't blame an astrophysicist because they didn't know. They're just doing their thing. Did they, They're searching for truth themselves, looking for dark matter and dark energy and trying to solve that equations. And it's, I don't think that a lot of them haven't done it from it's mostly theoretical is what I'm trying to say. They're doing theoretical science rather than, real physical stuff. Yeah. So I don't know where it's going to... I just don't know. What would be the outcome of it? What is? And that's quite a scary thought, I guess. It's an unknown. We've never really done that before. Oh, we have. We went from people that believed the Earth was flat. Everyone did 1,500 years ago, or 500 years ago. That changed. And what did they do? They just accepted it slowly,
Okay, I guess my final question for you would be, how has Flat Earth impacted your personal and professional life?
It has, to say it hasn't would be a lie. So it has impacted my personal life, even from, just who I am. I observe nature in a different way now. So I love, even, every insect, everything, it just fascinates me. And I learn, I'm trying to learn things that I would never have considered and trying to piece them all together. And I think I've become closer to a creator. I think I'm a better person, in fact, because I consider things differently, even though I get feisty. People probably see me get argument. Oh, I try not to do that anymore. From a professional point of view, it did impact me, because I was, doing pretty well, was like a businessman, entrepreneur, and I see the world differently now. So I don't know whether I want to be in that corporate world, I just value my time differently to just think that it should be all about money and, it's bad because I should be really working harder. But what does that even mean? Working harder on what? Like at someone's enterprise, or working harder on myself and learning and growing. So, I'm trying to mesh the two together. I'm trying to, I wrote a book. It's not a bestseller, but, I'd love that because then I could, mesh together, sharing truth with making money. But that doesn't often happen because a lot of people,
don't read anymore.
Yeah, they don't read anymore, do they?
I guess you could do a podcast. I guess podcasts are really getting really big now.
I really need to, step up the game, actually, I'm quite introvert. Like, I don't want to... I've never thought I'd be doing this. I never thought I'd get to my age and go, oh, yeah, let's, I always thought I'd have be in a different position. Not financially or anything, but just, being a motivational speaker, doing something like that, rather than saying, oh, you know. But it is motivate. I guess it is a form of it, because people, when you awaken them to, you know, to this, they become different. So does it inspire me to do that? Yeah, it does. And I think I'm going to start a podcast here. I wanted to start, you know, maybe do a midnight podcast or something, you know. Like just when people are just chilled out and, you know, you need something to listen to at night and, you know. But that would take a lot of commitment, like being there at midnight every night, right? But yeah, I think it's great how these podcasts do enable, you know, listeners to sort of tune in and think about things. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah.
Do you listen to Flat Earth podcasts? Like, do you listen to any of them
yourself? I do. I just listened to one before. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I still love, like, you know, because
listening to it
just when you think you know it all, like, no, know it all, you never know it all, but or you research everything in this topic, there's something else that comes out. And I just found stuff last night because I didn't realize if you go onto Google and you type the word before and then 2015, for example, and then put a colon there, and then type flat Earth, it gives you results from before 2015, before they shadow banned it and this new AI. And it's not only shadow banning. In the last 2 or 3 years or 4, how long, a lot of people have been doing search engine optimization using AI. So AI has taken over the first couple of pages of the search results. So when you do that, you bypass and go back before. And I'm finding, again, I found I think it was from 19, you know what I did? I did before before 1990, and I typed flat Earth. And I can't believe that it was I wish I'd typed that even earlier. But there were professors and people talking about flat Earth at a major level. But as I said, even for yourself, you never heard of it at school. I didn't either. It was not something that was, you know, that we were like told about at all. So it's very interesting that there's new things always, you know, with these podcasts, there's always something coming up and just something new to learn. Yeah, pretty interesting.
Also, have you personally experienced censorship?
Yeah, definitely.
You have?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, censored big time. Even my YouTube channel, like, you know, just trying to grow that's been censored. The videos I publish based on how many users I've got, you know, just it's censored. I've been banned on Facebook. Actually, I was a moderator of a group, I think it was in 2018, the Flat Earth and Globe Earth discussion group. And they had 125,000 members before it got banned. They deleted it. Just before COVID occurred, actually, that whole channel was banned and, you know, censored, if you like, from growing anymore. But yeah, censoring is a big thing, and I guess that sparked the growth of other channels like Rumble, or other platforms, I should say, like Rumble and BitChute. And a lot of people are going there to share their videos, because if you know that YouTube is just not going to show it to their audience, then, you know, these other channels are certainly, these other platforms, I should say, are certainly doing it. Yeah, it's censorship. It's funny because they allowed, you know, going back to the recommendations, as you said, on YouTube, what would be allowed. They're not censoring the topic per se. They're just censoring who is allowed to speak about.
Changing the algorithm.
Yeah, who's allowed to speak about the topic. And, you know, someone like that Professor Dave guy, he can put out a video and get 1 million views. You know, because he's saying the right things. You know, the Earth's not flat. You know, you guys are idiots. And, you know, even it's like, be good to have a... it's funny because before you rocked up, I was thinking I would love to go and chat with some of these professors that are from the uni, and maybe I'd, you know, do that as a podcast, like just invite them on my show and see if they'll come on, you know. But
that would be interesting.
That'd be interesting,
Definitely
wouldn't it? That's where I want to go. I want to go, you know, talk to, like, you know, just get it to that point where we can have a discussion that isn't going to be, you know, no one's going to get triggered and and swear and just a good discussion. Like, that's all it should be. And I'll learn. I want to learn from what they know. How do you test things? How do you test the distance to the star using spectroscopy? Or, you know, how do you rely on that equipment? How do you know? Like, or let's test things. And that's what I'd love to do. I'd love it if I could get someone from the university or any of the universities to have access to their, you know, lasers. They must have the most powerful lasers that we could literally go to the beach and set a target over the water from one location to another and pinpoint how far we can see and whether there is curvature over the water. And that's where I think, you know, the general public should have access. You know, why is it so hidden at university, you know? Like, they are the experts, and, you know, if we want to challenge that, how do we challenge what they're saying?
That's true.
That's what science should be about, like, you know? Like, you're saying it's this far, that star. Well, I don't believe it. I don't believe our eyes can resolve images that far. Not to mention they say that star died billions of years ago, and I can still see it every night. Really? So it's a bit of a religion. What they've done is they've flipped religion, because, you know, the stars are, you know, their domain. It's their, you know, and if you look at the model, it's very religious based, even what they're doing. Even with the rockets they sent up to space. Apollo, the Apollo mission. Who was Apollo? He was the one-eyed god, a Greek god, Apollo. And then Artemis, he was like Apollo's sister, you know, in Greek mythology. And all the planets are named after religion, you know, they're all got, you know, religious...
Greek,
they are,
gods,
the wandering stars, and they're all got this, you know, and even Hollywood, if you like, because the celebrities, and we celebrate the stars, and we put, you know what I mean? It's just that whole, you know, very sinister. It's very sinister. There is a conspiracy theory, like, if you like, to it. Because if people are conspiring, then they're, you know, it's, I don't like the theory part, you know, people do conspire. Let's put it like that. How far high it goes, this is what we're trying to determine. Is it at the level to where we are lived to? Well, that would be bad.
Okay, I think that's a good point to wrap this up. Yeah. Okay, I'll stop recording.
Cool, it's been great.